Greetings and salutations. Did y'all peep at? Y'all peep that? That was cute. Like I didn't know how that clap down was going to occur. Welcome to the God Hour podcast. I got me a true goddess right here.
Hey.
A true goddess. That thing used to get on my nerves when she was a little bit younger. I'm not going to lie to y'all. She worked my nerves. That's how I knew I was getting a little age. She just corrected me a little while ago. Miss Kelly Queen.
Thanks, Janelle. You're so dope. I love you.
I'm in good company. You are dope too, and I love you more.
You're so awesome.
Y'all, we're going to do some talking on here today.
The whole vibe coming in here. If y'all never been here before, the vibe in here is fire.
I tried.
As soon as you get in the door, you're like, okay.
That's what I want, man.
Okay.
That's what I want. That's how I feel.
It's like
every day coming up in here.
It's like a Zen situation.
Have to, man.
No, you created a good space.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Well, this conversation gonna mean a lot for me.
It is,
This
man.
is my first time talking about this. It ain't an easy topic.
This your first time?
First time on camera, talking about it. You know what I mean? I talk about it amongst my friends, my family, but
I got you.
It's a part of the healing process.
It is, and I'm ready for it. And I know that you know this. You're healing and you stepping up to the mic and saying, you know what, I want to talk about this. Because we're talking about our organization, Saving Our Selves, where it came from, which is really going to take us there. You freeing people. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that lightly at all.
That's my goal. Because I always go by this thing like the trauma wasn't your fault, but healing is. Healing is your responsibility. And for so long, I used my healing as a safe space. You know what I mean? I used my trauma. You know, I held on to that for so long. You know what I mean? Because it was a safe space. Every time I did something, it's because I went through this. So I had to let that go. I had to let that go.
Hold that, because we went back into that. Okay. I had a question right off. I'm ready. Look, we ready to get into it. But I figured since we are talking about a topic that is so sensitive, it will be heavy, and that's just what it's going to be, because it's going to get us into the zone of lightness, right? We're going to start a little bit light. So,
okay.
You know, I'm a big Larry King fan, right? I love Larry King. And he did this with Cat Williams when he had him on it. And I was like, Larry, I'm biting. I love it. And we've heard this question before. And he had, it was like a speed, like Cat. You know, it's Cat, so of course he rolled through him. Girl, that's the dude. That's like one of my idols as well. But answer, you know, keep this brief. It can be, some of them won't be one word. All right. But just keep it brief. All right, we ready to go? Okay. Who is your celebrity childhood crush?
It was Michael Jackson.
It was everybody's. Girl, I had a poster. Like, you could come up the cul-de-sac. We lived in Crow's Nest Court, right? And my bedroom window, like, my thing was, even though I knew I was going to get in trouble for leaving that light on, when you came up in there, you saw him in that yellow cardigan with, like, this white Oxford on and a yellow bow. Okay, Michael Jackson. Okay. Person you trade places for with a day. Person you trade places with for a day.
No one.
Guilty pleasure. Everybody, y'all comment. I'm telling you, everybody does that.
You want the clean version?
What you got?
Guilty pleasure. Ooh.
Want to come back?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody does that. Y'all something else.
Let's.
Biggest risk you've ever taken to date?
Starting Saving Ourselves. Okay. Being vocal about what happened to me with no regret. That's what held it up for so long. We're gonna get into that.
Okay, look, y'all see we can't wait, right? Y'all see, like, I'm trying to hurry up, like, all right, best compliment you've ever gotten?
Oh, wow. And you know, a lot of people go to physical, but that's never the best compliment. I think the best compliment that I've ever gotten from someone is that I trust you. Yeah, because that's a lot.
That's a lot.
You know, they might not like you. They might not even like the way you say things, but they know when times get hard, they could trust me.
I trust you. You're safe. I mean? You are safe. That's major.
Yeah, I want people to feel safe. Like, I don't even care if you feel some type of way about me, but if you bring something to me that's super heavy, you could trust me with it.
That's right.
Right.
I like that. Worst piece of advice you've ever gotten?
Worst piece of advice I've ever gotten. This gonna ruffle some feathers. You have to forgive them.
I'm ready to go. That one. That one. Oh, goodness gracious. Who would you like to be stranded on a desert island with?
Ooh. Some beautiful man.
Okay. You ain't trying to get off the island. You like, we all right. Don't wave the boat down.
Well, my kid's good.
Okay.
We must be.
Now, you know what Cat Williams said?
What?
A good swimmer.
That's cute.
Yeah, because I'm going to get right on your back.
Right.
Let's go. But that's him.
But you know what, though? I didn't even think about leaving the island.
Yep.
For me, I find solace in solitude.
Come on now.
A lot of people don't know how to do that.
Do we have trees? Can I build a hut?
Right.
Is that a stone I can sharpen this with?
Once you master the art of being alone for a period of time, letting other people in, you can read that a mile away.
Girl.
It took me a long time.
You talk to the queen of solitude. Like, tell us something we don't know about you.
I'm obsessed with fairies. You know, like Tinkerbell and fairies and stuff like that. Like, I want to start a fairy collection. Like, you know how people have little. I love fairies.
Have you been to the fairy? What's the little? Remember back in the day, up the road, up the highway, where they had the. Oh goodness! It's a farm now, a petty. They have the pumpkin patch there. They got like the
Was it a barn?
Story lane characters like Mother Hubbard, the 3-minute old lady in the shoe.
I don't remember that.
I feel like it's called. Girl, I was ready to call the place Klaus's. That ain't the place. Girl, that ain't the place. I will get the name for you, but they have a fairy forest. I took my grandbabies, and you would lose your mind because when you are on your way to the fairy forest, you pass like the 3 Little Bears house or whatever, and it's in the middle of like a moat. It ain't a lake, a little thing with a little footbridge, and then you walk into the fairy forest, and just all of the little you would love it. You would love it. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna get the. Somebody comment when y'all see this with it because I might not remember, but you would love it. And last question: if you could choose any superpower, what would it be?
The ability to disappear.
Girl, take me with you. Yeah. Disappear over being invisible.
Disappear. And then I can reappear whenever I feel like it.
Where would you go if you disappeared?
One of my dreams that's on my 300 list, if for people that don't know, it's like a manifestation list. I always wanted to go and be with the monks for like a month and see what they meditate on and how they got the mind over the body type of situation. Like, my goal is to have complete control of my mind.
I'm sitting here tripping, right? Because I actually was reading about the monk's meditation. It was late last night or early this morning. I know it was dark outside. So I'm tripping with you saying that, but I've always found solitude in nuns, like them working and just quiet. So it's like for you saying that.
Nuns? Interesting.
Imagine me around some nuns. I don't shut up, first of all. They'd be like, just bring her out of the garden.
And you know you can't, and you can't get none. Which is fine.
I've been getting that all my life.
Right. I'm just saying.
Ain't no new ways to do it.
Sorry,
you know what I mean?
You know my mind always.
Hey, no, we keep it real.
Right.
But they know. I feel like especially in that, and and we'll go right into our topic. But I feel like as it relates to, that's all right. I told Kelly she giving me black G.A.W.D.
Oh, the wig big.
Come on, and G.A.W.D got her style from us anyway. So yeah, I love it. Giving the whole. Like you might bust out in Supreme's tune or something. But I feel like my relationship with sex has evolved so much.
Absolutely.
So much. And I'm like, it ain't no new ways to do it. That's not to say that I'm not interested in it.
Right.
It's not to say that, but I've been there and pretty much done it all.
And And it's if you want it, it's there. And if you don't want it, you don't have to,
It's just right. Not wanting it. Not wanting it. So let's just jump right into it. So Kelly has started a nonprofit, and first of all, I noticed on your page, your soon to be, and I can't wait for you to remove that. It exists.
I'm getting there.
It exists.
Right.
It exists. That's it, and that's all.
And I just had to get out of my own way.
Yep.
I kept making excuses. Oh, I got to do this, take care of that. And one thing about your calling or your purpose, you can't outrun it. It's gonna find you somehow, some way.
Every way, every space, every person you come, everywhere.
And excuse me.
No, she's fine. Look, I'm nursing her. She all right. It's those allergies, you know, with this weather and whatnot. You in the right place where I got plenty. You need some jam and ginger.
You know I'm allergic to ginger. I can only have ginger in small doses.
Girl, I'm glad I didn't give it to you.
No, I can have it, but in small doses. Too much ginger, my lips turn black and they peel.
Get out of here.
I don't know why, but I can have it in little doses. I can drink ginger ale, but pure ginger, if I have too much of it, yeah.
I'm so glad you told me that, because I was actually about to give you the jam and ginger.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't have, but yeah, something about ginger.
Well, no, we don't want to, we ain't trying to test it out. But Saving Ourselves, talk to me about it.
I named it SOS, Saving Ourselves, because ultimately, no matter what trauma you've been through, it's up to you to save yourself. No one's going to come and save us. No one's going to rescue us. You can get people to help you along your journey, but as far as doing the work, you have to do it yourself. And
most people aren't equipped anyway.
Right.
They are not equipped.
They don't know where to start.
They don't know, especially as it relates to what your organization is based in. And tell us the mission, like your reasoning.
My goal, my reasoning is because I'm a sexual abuse survivor. That's the first time I've ever said that on camera. A lot of people, in my family know. My closest friends know, but over the past few years, I've gotten more verbal with it, because every time you turn around, it's predators, whether they be teachers or aunts or uncles or boyfriends. It's just weird. And people always say, it's just so new. No, it's not new. It's not new. It's just that people don't talk about it. Certain things, certain topics that people, especially in our community, don't like to talk about. You know what I mean?
Well, first of all, how did it feel to say it out loud?
It felt great. It felt great.
Was it before even saying it out loud, deciding to create this organization and realizing that it's you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's for victims of people who have been sexually assaulted, raped, molested, trafficked, all the abuse.
It's all under an umbrella. It's under an umbrella.
And when it had to be here and here first.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel like I didn't do it previously because it wasn't time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not all the way there, but I would have been so stuck in my trauma and so stuck in hurt that I wouldn't have been able to help anybody else. You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm not 100% there because it's a journey. But thank God I'm not where I used to be with it.
Come on now.
You know what I mean?
But even taking it from a thought to, okay, I'm ready to pull the trigger on this. It's time to... What was that like?
I was scared.
Why?
Because of the reaction of my family. That was the number one thing for me. You know what I mean? And even though they knew of it, and I love my family. You know what I mean? I love them to death. But for years and years, I sat in silence with it. And it wasn't their fault that I was, you know what I mean? It was just, I can't even say shame. I just wanted to avoid the topic. I would talk about it with everyone but them. You know what I mean? I would pour into my best friend, Erica Middleton. I would tell her. I would pour into it. And I remember Erica, who grew up across the street from me, she was Parole Street. Shout out to Parole. I remember Erica saying one time, she was like, I always knew something was wrong. But I couldn't put my finger on it.
How did it feel hearing that? Because, of course, you think, even as a child, I'm hiding. I'm making myself small. No one knows. Like, how did it feel?
It felt like I could have come forward sooner. Because one thing that people that love you and know you, they can feel the shift in you. They can feel the way that you change and the way that you act. And the way that I was relating to men was totally different.
How was that?
I used to think that men were expendable creatures. That they didn't have feelings. And I'm going to tell you why. My abuser, and this is my first time saying this on camera, was my father, right? The first man to validate a woman is her father or grandfather, whoever raised her. The first woman to validate a man is his mother or whoever raised him, right? when the person who brought you into the world violates you, how can you trust any other man after that?
Mm-mm.
The person that's supposed to protect you, love you, the one you hold in regard, how do you? So me maneuvering after that, I love men, think they're beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I would get close enough. The funny thing is, I never had a problem with being around men,
Mm-hmm.
but when they started getting too close,
Did age matter? Like, even if you weren't romantically involved, did you feel uncomfortable around older men, or was it just men? Period. Like
men, period.
Mm-hmm.
But majority older men at that time. Yeah, majority of older men.
How long did it take you to say something, to tell?
I'm gonna tell this story, and I've only told this to a few people. It took me about a year to
How
say
old were
something.
you?
So my wires are crossed
Mm-hmm.
with that, but I know that I was of puberty age. I think I was at Annapolis Middle,
Mm-hmm.
so I think I was like in the 8th grade. Um, it started when we lived on Parole Street, and then it continued when we moved to Spa Cove. And at that time, I was in middle school. And then one day, I was just like, nah.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, that morning, I missed the bus.
Mm.
Both of my parents worked in D.C. My father would leave first, and my mother would leave after. And for some reason, I missed the bus that morning. I would put myself on the bus, and my mother was like, "I'll take you to school." And my mother, who didn't cuss, I'm a cusser.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? She was driving me, and we were riding past the fire station, right there on 4th Drive.
Mm-hmm.
I will never forget. And I looked at her and I told her, and my mother slammed on the brakes. She said, "What the fuck did you say?"
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I told her, and she was like, "What?" And I remember her driving to Rixie's, had a payphone out front.
It sure did.
And we didn't have cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the window cracked. And I heard her call my father on the phone and say, "How the fuck could you do this to your own daughter?"
Mm-hmm.
We left that day. Everybody don't have that story. I know people who parents and mothers that didn't believe them. But maybe it was something that she saw in him. See, a lot of times we see things in people or hear things and we ignore it. And that's not to discredit my mom.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that she left immediately,
that that takes my breath away, because like you said, we don't hear that. Any of us, and I'm looping myself into it, who get the courage to eventually tell, you are told that you're lying, you're made to feel dirty, ashamed, you're questioned, and you just wish you could just take it all back.
Right.
And it just hearing that that's how your mother handled that, Kelly, like the fact that it was your father, and me knowing that as we have gotten to know each other over the years, has just always just been like, to me, and I'm like, how do you even have a shred of sanity? And you got a whole lot of it. It just brought it all together for me. Like that your mother was like,
that day, so she called out of work, and we got as much clothes as possible, and we went down the country. You know, we always go down the country or something. Down my great grandmother's house in Churchton. And I don't think she told her, why. That was just somewhere you could always go, no matter what. And we went down there, and we stayed down there until she got her own place, and that was it. So fast forward, I'm over senior high. We're in class one day. I forgot what class I was in, and the topic of abuse came up. And I got so emotional. Shout out to Miss Turner.
Miss Turner, Shanae's mother.
Yes.
Oh man, Miss Helen Turner.
Shout out to Miss Turner.
Yes.
I went downstairs, and I went into her office. I said, "Miss Turner, I gotta tell you something." And she was the first person I told. And Shanae, if you see this, please show this to your mom. And I told her, me not thinking that by law she has to report it. They went to my mom's job in D.C. that day. Mm-hmm. And my mom had came to me previously and she was like, we're going to press charges, we're going to do this. And I stopped her. Mm-hmm. I regret that. I carried the burden of not pressing charges because there were victims after me. Oh. And not only that, later in life, I found out there were victims before me. So I didn't want the embarrassment. I said, don't do it. I can get through it. I don't want to be embarrassed. My mother wanted to do all that. Everything that a mother had. I begged her. I cried. I pleaded for her not to do that because I just didn't want to go through the embarrassment. I was like, I can do it. We can get through this. And we never did. And fast forward later on in life, I carried that for a while because I felt like it wouldn't have happened. And then he was trying to be proactive because he was so afraid I was going to tell. So he started conjuring up stories and stuff. Weird shit. Weird, fucked up shit. Yeah. Like, just weird shit. Can you tell any of it? You comfortable saying any of it? I am not. Mm-hmm. But he just started conjuring up weird shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? To save face. But one thing about how God and the universe works, everything you do in the dark, and it might not come today, tomorrow, whatever, it all came full circle. Mm-hmm. And he ended up doing it again. And this person pressed charges. Mm-hmm. And it was a aha moment for everybody. Mm-hmm. For the ones who didn't believe. Okay. And I started finding out about certain behaviors he was doing with other people. Like in Annapolis. Like people would come to me and say, he followed this or he said somewhere. I'm like, And this is not to shame anyone. But this is my truth. You feel me? And that's and we don't in this space, we don't apologize. Right. We absolutely don't. And I know for certain that my audience does not expect that at all. Ain't no explaining. If it feels uncomfortable for anybody, it's because it's supposed to. Right. It's because it's supposed to. And I always say the goal of SOS is to make you feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. I don't want to walk into a room and talk about this and you leave like, no, I want you to think about it. That's right. Think about it. We all have. And I'm not saying we all know those people that's a little weird around kids or a little extra or a little, you know what I mean? Like, pay attention. And it's not just men. It's not just men. Take the stigma off of that. It's a lot of that. We get a lot of it. I'll tell you in my role, I work with returning citizens. Mm-hmm. I'm always surprised at myself, as someone who was sexually abused, how even in this role, I got to assist them. I don't get a choice of who my caseload is. Right. And the way that I'm still able to, like a transformer, take this part, tuck it away, so that I can still serve. But the fact that I have to still come home, get in a shower, scrub myself raw, because what I want to do to you. But Kelly, I'm proud of you. Thank you. I'm proud of you, and I hesitate telling people that I'm proud of them, and I tell this to everybody. It's always a tightrope for me because I don't like to hear people say I'm proud of you because it tells me that you had a little bit of doubt. That's me, right? I feel the same thing. That's me. But I feel like in situations like this, there is doubt. Like I'm gonna carry it with me, or even with just I told my mom, I told my administrator, but for you to decide to take your story, your survival, and create an organization to help others. Mm-hmm. I am so proud of you because we don't do that. And not only that, you already can't trust anyone once you've been violated, right? I told anyone, you can come to me and it'll be anonymous. Mm-hmm. If you know something, say something. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, if you know something, say something. Say it again for the people. If you know something, say something. Mm-hmm. They always talk about intuition and discernment. Mm-hmm. We feel it before we experience it. Especially in families. Because what I find is that it's easier to call a child a liar, fast, hot in their ass, all those things that it is to say, come here. Let me talk to you. Mm-hmm. Let me talk to you. Even in my own family, it was years that there was that we had heard rumors about someone assaulting children. And this person was allowed to have a seat at the table every single holiday.
every single holiday. And I remember as I got older and I heard the stories, and realized what had happened, I'm like, I can't be quiet anymore. It took me a long time to even um, come around my family.
It creates resentment.
It does.
Because you're welcoming in a person that you know, will cause trauma and inflict pain. And this is not regular pain. Like, it's pain that you can get past, but this distorts your view of everything.
Everything.
It's just like grief. Grief does the same thing. Yep. I always tell people, grief is not just losing a person. You can grieve so many different things, and grief brings on so many other emotions. Yep. Resentment, anger, pain. You know, you go through so many emotions, and certain things it takes so long to maneuver through. Yep. You know what I mean? To get through. I'm triggered sometimes. I hate using that word because people overly use the word trigger. I'm triggered by some things sometimes, and I'm just like, okay, reel yourself back in. I'm gonna tell you what changed me. Having daughters. When I found out I was pregnant with Kaylin, I went into panic mode. Shout out to Kaylin, she'll be 21 this year.
I cannot believe.
I remember, and shout out to Kaylin's father. See, it's weird because I might not have had a good relationships with her dad, but I picked great fathers. And her father, I had to tell him because we were in a relationship, and I told him what happened to me. And I will never forget this twice. This been brought to my attention. As soon as I found out I was having a girl, I started freaking out. I was happy. But I went into like, oh my God, I'm having a girl, blah, 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 blah. And I will never forget, I'm telling the story on camera. I remember after I had her, it had been like 3 or 4 weeks. And he came in, he said, I want to talk to you about something. I was like, what? He's like, you know that when you're tired and I change her, you hover over me? And I didn't even know I was doing that. Yeah. And he was like, I know that you know I would never do anything. And I never thought he would. Never even thought that about him. Yeah. He's a great man. Like, good person, never even crossed my mind. But subconsciously, I was doing things to make him feel uncomfortable. So he said, you know what? Going forward, when I'm here, until you get to a place, I don't mind you. It's fine. He was like, because you're not there yet. Yeah. He acknowledged it. It wasn't like, oh my God, you think he didn't even, you know what I mean? Because he knew that.
I'm so glad that you weren't met with shame from the people that you shared with your mom, with your daughter's father. Like, they embraced you. Did anyone, family, anyone from the outside that knew, did they come at you otherwise or make you feel uncomfortable in any other way?
It's one person in my life, I'm not going to say his name, that's related to me that I feel like didn't believe me. And he means a lot to me. So,
have you all ever had a conversation about it?
I don't know how to approach it because he kind of held my father in a high regard. So I also had to learn that my experience with my father was not everybody else's, and I was holding people accountable for my experience. If I experienced you in a certain type of way, Janella, bitch, she treated me like shit, right? And then somebody else come along and they experience you in a whole different manner. They don't receive it the same because that's not what they don't want, and they don't want to believe that. Most predators are charismatic, well dressed. That's why when people say, well, why would this person have to rape somebody? Why would R. Kelly have to do that? He could get women. It's not about that.
It ain't about that.
It's a power. Yeah. It's a power thing. It's a luring type of thing.
Well, let me just say this though, and I agree with you to a certain extent. With, I understand you may see this person this way, and I've had a different experience. So keep how you see them
to yourself.
Over there.
Absolutely.
You don't get to bombard me with, well, this person. You don't get to do that.
Right.
You don't get to do that. So people need to read the room.
Right.
Read the energy.
Just like I tell people, you don't get to tell people how to feel. Just because you said it one way, I received it a different way. And you can't tell me how to receive something.
That's right. And how you experience that person or how you have experienced that person, how you see them, does not change what they did to me.
Absolutely. I agree.
Doesn't change it. You can't shame me into that.
Right.
You can't blow them up above it.
I remember before my aunt passed away, his older sister, my aunt said, and she never acknowledged it. And then one day she said, do you resent me for not believing you? That blew my mind because we never talked about it. It came up. She, passed it, but she was like, "Do you resent me for not believing?" I said, "No."
Mm-hmm. You know, and I have
I resent other people for not believing.
Mm-hmm. How did you know that they didn't believe you? They said it, or it was just a.
I could tell the way they received them, and the way little things they would say.
So there would be times when you would still be around him, like family things.
Absolutely.
Did he do any jail time?
No, he had to register as a sex offender.
Okay.
He registered as a sex offender, and that was that. And he had to move. And shortly before he passed away, for some apparent, Parole Street is where we all meet. Mm-hmm. No matter where we live, you stop in our Parole Street. Mm-hmm. Everybody know those two blue houses are the Queens. That's it.
Yep.
My uncles might be out there. My Uncle Sarge might be out there. My cousins, the kids running around. One day, I don't know if it was it was a sunny day, and I was out parole, and everybody went somewhere. And he pulls up, and I'm sitting in the driveway by myself. And he comes to me, he was like, "Do you know where everybody is?" I said, "No, I don't." I said, "But don't leave." Right? And at this time, I said, "Have a seat." But he didn't. A week prior, he had offered Kaylin or Chloe some money, and Chloe said, or Kaylin, one of them said, "My mother told me don't take anything from you." Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk to him about that. And I said, because of you, I can't have a real relationship with a man. I said, because of you, I hold on to so much. I said, I have to free myself. And I said, I don't want you talking to my children. I don't want you around my children. They know that you're their grandfather. Mm-hmm. I told my kids are well aware of what happened. Mm-hmm. I don't hide that type of shit. Mm-hmm. Like, they're well aware of what happened. I told them about it, and so they would just be distant from him. I said, but I have to forgive you in order for me to move on. Mm. That was just something for me to say. Because was it important for you to tell him that you had to forgive him? Yes. Mm-hmm. And why do you think it was? For me, mm-hmm. Right? Because not only was he was a abuser as well. He banked on control. In my household, that's why I'm so outspoken. When a lot of people say, "Oh, you so," because when you scarred that mouth, huh? When you I wouldn't change it. I'm telling you. When you live under a dictatorship and you finally get that, because I used to say, not judging my mother, I was like, when I ever get in a, I ain't gonna never. Be careful with your nevers. Mm-hmm. I ain't gonna never. Ain't no man ever. I ain't gonna never put up. Right? That's inviting it in. We're gonna get there. So he looked at me and said, "I don't want your forgiveness." And he walks out my face and gets in his car. Swear to God, I'm a kid. I said, "Okay." Right? And when he gets to his car, I said, and I shouldn't have did this. I felt like sealing a couple color, but until you do right, mm-hmm. I said, your last days on this earth is going to be tumultuous. Mm-hmm. I said, you're going to die in a manner that you never thought you would. Mm-hmm. Be careful what you speak. Mm-hmm. He died in a manner that he never thought he would. A month prior to him dying, I called Annette, my aunt Annette Queen, and Annette Ken. I said, mm-hmm. I had a dream that your brother died alone in his house. Check on him. Mm-hmm. And she's like, okay. A month later, going into Christmas Eve, my cousin Rara, she called me. She was like, they found your father's body in the row house in Baltimore. I said, okay. Y'all need me for anything? She's like, no. I said, all right. Mm-hmm. That was that. I'm not a believer in be careful what you speak. Right. I know that we are powerful people, but we don't supersede him. Right. So it was already written. Right. And I feel like God probably gave that to you. Mm. Right. You think you letting them know. And I'm not ashamed to admit this. I used to think that I would find peace in his death. Mm. It don't work that way. Mm-mm. Because death dredges up so many memories and so many emotions. And I always said, what would I feel like when he passed? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What would I? And at first I ain't want nothing to do with it. I don't want nothing to do with that funeral. And Kelly, did he ever apologize? See, because he said he didn't want your forgiveness, but did he ever, not directly to you, but did he ever say to anybody, I'm sorry? He wrote me a letter. Mm. A long time ago. I wish I still had that letter. He wrote me a letter. Because that letter was the only proof that I had that he did it. And he apologized in the letter? he wouldn't acknowledge it. He would never say what it was. He would always say, for what I did to you. Mm. He wouldn't put specifically what I wanted a specific.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was an overall.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was an overall apology. It wasn't, so.
And the person that you think doesn't believe you, do they know that letter existed, or they didn't know that? Well, you know now.
No. Not at all.
And and how old were you?
When what?
When it occurred, you were in middle school?
Yes.
Navigating life.
Mm-hmm.
You have children.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you said you were and still are very protective, as you should be.
I'm better with it now.
Mm-hmm. How? Tell me.
Kaylin said to me, you can date. I won't bring men around my children, except for like their godfathers or but if I'm dealing with you and it's not serious, you ain't in my kids. You're not even in my house.
That should be a standard anyway.
But it's not.
Yeah, it's not. And I as a grandmother, once your kids get older, you think, oh goodness, I do not have to worry. And then here come the grandbabies. And I'm so grateful. So thankful that my grandchildren have amazing parents who are protective, especially the twins. Like, he ain't playing, but it just, you worry constantly when it's like you don't get reprieve from it. No matter how much you heal, no matter how much you say it out loud, no matter how many adjustments, how many conversations that you have. Now, what I will share is, in my experience, I felt shame. But it happened twice, 2 family members. And I felt so much shame, and I wasn't able to really get relief from that shame because you a liar, you're dirty, I don't want to hear that. Like, that was how it was received when I said something. But I felt strong in a way that I had never felt strong before. When I was able to confront, when I finally made the decision to confront one of them in public. It was not planned. It wasn't expected. This cousin, I remember when my grandmother passed, and we were at her house, and he walked in the front door, and I walked out the back, and that's what I would do my entire life. He would come to family cookouts, and I would go into the house. I would do this, and no one knew until I wrote a poem. I still didn't say who did it, but I had performed the poem on like a ski trip. They had open mic, and one of my cousins came to me and was like, "Girl, so many secrets in Johnson Place," and that just devastated me more. Just knowing that I'm not the only one who has a story, not necessarily from that person, but 2 years ago, me and my daughter and my grandbabies were in her truck, and we were talking to the kids, having a good time, about to go into Goodwill, and he pulls up right beside me, and I just look over, and I get out of the truck. I'm not thinking about my daughter and my grandkids, and my daughter said, "Ma, I told them kids, just look straight ahead. My mom is fine." And I went off so bad. I wanted to fight him. I was like, and the power that I felt in the moment when I was able to scream in his face. I mean, y'all know I can't stand corner spit. I could feel my mouth foaming with anger. And I was like, if my father was alive, he would have gutted you like a fucking fish.
Right.
Like my jaws were tight for days after that, because just all of it. If I put my hands on them, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today. But when I got back in my daughter's truck, like I felt like a brick had tumbled, and I told him, I don't care if it's a repast, a cookout, a family reunion, you better not come. And I told his wife too. Like, I was like, oh, let me let her know as well. But now he's the one that exits the space. I saw him in Wawa like a couple of months ago, and he caught himself speaking to me, and I lit Wawa up. But it feels, and I don't want to continue to live my life like that. I don't want to do that, but the relief that it brought, just being able to look him directly in his face and say, you know what you did, and you know what that did to me, my entire life. So being able to say it out loud, like, I know that this is big for you.
It's extremely big. And the main purpose of SOS is for people. I needed someone. And people
being who we needed.
So that's the whole purpose. You know, even if you're not comfortable, let me put you with someone who can help you navigate, because there's people that can really help you navigate through this. But people don't know where to go to. You don't know where to start, and a lot of time it's one of the hardest things to prove.
It is.
It's one that you get in front of a court, they're gonna shame you for every sexual act you've ever done. That's why it's so easy to rape sex workers. And get away with it. That's why it's so easy to rape people who are deemed promiscuous, because they'll use your sexuality against you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for women, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. You know what I mean? So because if you are overly sexual, which you know some people are, they call you something. If you're too reserved with it, there's certain people that feel like you don't have the right, like that's owed to them. You know what I mean? Like you know, that's owed to me. So I'm gonna get it by any means. It's people that actually think that way.
I believe it.
I was on the phone with my friend a month ago, and he is not too, you know, privy to. He's like, I knew this stuff exists, but I didn't know it was that deep. So I went online and read down all of the organizations that are pro pedophilia. These organizations have been around since the 70s.
Jeez, man.
And these are groups of people who are all pedophiles. And they deem it as, you know, oh, it's the way I was born. This is what I'm attracted to.
It like it's someone that's confused with gender.
So,
well, not confused, but someone is like, I felt like I was born a boy or a woman.
So a lot of times I get in arguments with people because I hate when people will see a male gay couple with children, and the first thing they say is, "Oh, they might touch them."
Yeah,
honey,
you better worry about sitting at that dinner table.
Just because someone is the same gender, don't mean they're attracted to each other. And everyone's not a pedophile. You can't equate being gay or anything like that with being. That's crazy. That's just as much as equating murder with being black or white.
That's right.
You know
and you are right, Kelly. I hear that. I've heard that a lot.
Don't let them around.
Don't let them around them kids. And then the thing that you said earlier, we are light with women.
A lot of guys have lost their virginity at 13 and 14 to older women.
Yep.
And that's deemed as like a notch on the belt. That's predatory behavior.
Yep.
There's no fucking way at 35 years old you should be wanting to fuck a 15-year-old boy.
That's right.
At all. You should not even be attracted to him. So it's all the same. But for men, it's such a double standard because to them, they're like, oh, you know, my first time, she was older. She was 40 and she had this and had that. No, that's predatory. Antoine Fisher. You ever see that movie?
Oh, goodness. What?
Of course.
Yes.
That's predatory behavior.
It is. And it's a lot of that. I've heard more of that version of how a male has lost their virginity.
Absolutely.
Than, oh, you know, we were. I'm telling you, it was only recent that I had somebody say, oh, we were both virgins, you know.
Right.
Same age. It was. I had not heard a male say that.
That's far and few.
Most of them had, oh, it was my babysitter or something, and they brag on it. And I'm like, do you hear yourself? And you even see the confusion, like because I feel like as women, we will school and groom adults, protect yourself, do this, but with our sons,
oh, it's different. And I don't have a son.
Not. Yep.
Hold them accountable.
Yep. Yep.
Just because her skirt is short, don't mean you gotta touch it or talk to her a certain manner. That's her cross to bear.
That's right.
When you teach your sons how to talk to a woman, regardless, you know what I mean? Regardless,
and how they should receive women.
Right.
No one should make you uncomfortable. Like, and that's what I mean as far as the protect yourself as well.
Right.
My sons know it. I give it to them raw and heavy. I look. I'm real old school. I told my kids, my sons, anything Italian, that's your meal, because we slick. And wounded women do wounded things with your food. Don't leave your all the things.
Real shit.
All the things. I'm like, we're wicked. But the other thing is, it's, you know, especially now with my grandsons, with all little girls, you can't play with all little girls, little boys, or with their parents. Everybody ain't spending the night nowhere. I don't care who it is. And especially if somebody takes a particular interest in, you don't have children, or your children are grown, and you need this child to come spend the night. No, you ain't nobody want to spend the night nowhere.
And you know what? I'm a lot better with Chloe than I am with Caitlin. Because Caitlin taught me like how intense I was being. You know what I mean?
Did she have a conversation? Like, how was that? What'd she say? How was that?
You know my cousin Keisha Queen?
Yeah, of course.
Caitlin was about 8 or 9 years old. And she had stayed at Keisha's house. Keisha's her godmother.
Mm-hmm.
And Keisha called me in the middle of the night and said, I put that girl in the tub, and she screamed, hurry up, give me a towel, because my mother told me ain't nobody supposed to see me naked.
Wow. Good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, and Keisha said the way that Caitlin had acted about it. And I had realized right then and there I cannot give her a complex.
Oh, yes.
I didn't want to give her a complex about herself, because one thing about me, I speak life into my girls.
Mm-hmm.
I know I get on their goddamn nerves. Mm-hmm. They tell me all the time, you're so intense, blah, 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 blah. I know I get on their nerves. Mm-hmm. But as them, they knew their body parts early. I let them know that a good touch and bad touch is just not a private part. Yep. If somebody rub them against you, it don't feel right, the shit ain't right.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Watch people, like, I'm so on point with that. And I got to speak life into them because I tell them, don't be a pretty dumb girl. Mm-hmm. If someone tells you you're pretty or you're attractive, say thank you, but that's not who you are in entirety. Mm-hmm. That's just a part of you. I don't want them to get slick talk. A lot of kids who are traumatized, molested, or raped, they seek out certain children.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they pick the strong ones, the mouthy ones that they know that's gonna tell, or got protection, or their uncle or father's gonna come out. They don't seek the ones out.
They don't.
No.
I was looking at some stats the other night that 90% of children who are assaulted they know their abuser.
Absolutely.
Very familiar with them. And that again it's in the family. It's rarely the neighbor over there.
Right. And that's because in Black people we live by that what goes on in this house stays in this house mentality, and we can't. Mm-hmm. That's what keeps us crippled. Mm-hmm. And that comes from a place of everything being stripped from you as a Black person. Mm-hmm. Our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, so they have pride. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't want them down the street to know that this is going on in here because they're going to look at us different.
That's right.
So they would save face.
It's like, I'm looking at us different.
Right. They would save face at your expense. Mm-hmm. At your mental clarity and your capacity. Pray about it.
Pray about it.
Oh, Black people, what? They'll pray your ass right there. Pray about it. God got you. Mm-hmm. God ain't had me when he was touching me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, you can't tell someone to pray about trauma.
And the thing is, and they say these things to the person that's been assaulted, but we waiting on the riot for the motherfucker that did the assaulting.
Absolutely.
Like everybody wants to hush and quiet and accept. Ain't no screaming, ain't no carrying on, ain't no, you can't come around here.
You know, I'm going to say it. You know, I had planned my father's death at one point in time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like fantasizing about it.
Oh, no.
Like, I'm going to execute it.
Yeah. I did.
That's not surprising. And don't you dare feel bad.
I don't. That. And one of the women that he abused years ago, she's an adult now. She ended up going to jail. Her life spiraled after he did that to her. She had knocked on his door one day to kill him, and he wasn't there. She showed up at his door with a gun.
Jeez, man.
And his girlfriend at the time answered the door, and he wasn't there. And she never told the girlfriend who she was. And later on, she had told someone in my family that she had came there to take his life because she had felt as though that he had ruined her life. And this is stuff that my family like. This is not new. This is new to everyone else, but like this is you know.
Do you feel? And like we ain't even saying specific family or nothing. Mm-hmm. We be absolutely respectful because everybody heals in their own time. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that some of the, I don't want to hear it, or let's just minimize it, is because they were victims too?
No. And if they were, then they should understand. Mm-hmm. But I can't expect them to, you know what I mean?
Because of the shame that comes with it. And we're not making excuses for people, you know what I mean? Right. But because of the shame that comes with it, even seeing you in your healing, creating an organization, being vocal with it, a great majority of people will long for that. You know what I mean? They'll
Right.
say, I wish I could, and you can. But it's nothing that we can do to convince them. But I've noticed that family tends to be uncomfortable because when they get a little older, it comes out that them too.
Right. I find a lot of healing in being transparent. You can be transparent without telling all your business.
That's right.
A lot of people take transparency as telling everything about yourself. Now, I'm transparent because no one will talk about this shit. It's so uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I waited till I was 18 to lose my virginity because I was so afraid. You know what I mean? I was so afraid. And let's not talk about how when you've been abused, how it affects your sexuality.
Oh, come on. Come on. If you feel completely disconnected.
Right. It feels surreal. I can't explain it, but it affects your sexuality and how you view men, how you interact with them, and everything. You know what I mean? But one thing about me, like some people don't make it. Some people turn to substance abuse. Some people turn to promiscuity. I feel like for a certain point in time, I wasn't promiscuous, but I had a good time. You feel me? And it changes your perception. You know how a lot of people said they couldn't disconnect sex from feelings? I could. But if I really liked you, I could. But for a long, I could really do that only because I don't know if it was shame or anything. I just felt it's like with men, that's all.
Maybe you thought you didn't subconsciously you didn't want to enjoy it a whole lot. If I bring emotion into it, I'm enjoying this, and subconsciously, it still feels dirty. I mean, that's good. You know what I mean? That's good. But I get that even when I was doing the complete pussyography and I'm exploring my sexuality, and it was good. But when I kept it all the way real with myself, I had to admit the disconnect that I had for 40 years. I'll be 50 soon.
Really?
But I'll be 50 next year. Yep, yes, girl, proudly. But I had to admit, as a married woman, I'm divorced. I have baby daddies and everything. I was not present. It was let me follow the lead with whatever. Okay, I guess that's what we're doing. But being able to like feel things and be present and not feel like, okay, he just doing his business. Like that is a very real thing. Like we laughed at silly for years.
Right.
But deep down on the inside, that's how I felt. Like, well, no, they do it to you. And that's it. And then when I realized from peers and reading and movies and everything, like, no, you're supposed to be involved in this, then I mimicked that.
Right.
And then gratefully, I met a different type of man. And it made me want to feel things and release. And it was about the intimacy. It was not about the act at all. You know what I mean? It was not about that. But I had separated. It was in such fragments. I did not know all the things that I thought I did as related to like just intimacy.
Ooh.
It was
because
just so.
A lot of people don't understand the difference between intimacy and.
I had never experienced it until recent years.
Same here.
Yep.
Same here. I think any man previously, well, first of all, I felt like a lot of men that the core men that I was serious about, besides Kaylin's dad, because he understood, I didn't think other men knew how to receive what I told them. They would walk on eggshells because of the fact of what I've been through. Some people didn't even acknowledge the fact that because of what I went through, it's because of the way that I was. So they just wrote me off as being, oh, she's fucked up, or she's mean, or she can't be there for anybody. Not even digging deep enough to say like, yo, she's a little traumatized. Like she's
but that's them.
Right.
They
and they're not gonna acknowledge that because it's not their experience.
They don't know anything about that.
Right.
Like, well, wait a minute, this is happy. And it's easier to put it down than it is to, okay, I'm willing to explore this with you.
Right.
And that's fine.
Right.
You weren't the person that I needed to explore that space with.
And I was holding, at one point in time, I was holding people hostage at that. I was using that. Well, I've been through this, so that's why I said that. And the reason I treat you like this is because my father did this to me.
Oh, girl, yes.
And my father did this to me. My father did this to me. No. I had to save myself. I had to because I got tired of being so closed off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know what I mean? I was just so
and ready for battle too.
Yeah. What?
Yep.
I'm a track star. My mother used to say, you know, any woman can leave, but it takes a strong one to stay. I ain't staying.
Yep.
Fuck him.
I'm gonna be the one that leaves.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean?
And see, I was the opposite. I was the one who, I'm gonna stay.
I've been accused of not fighting hard enough, but why should I? And I'm like, why should I have to fight for it? If it's mine, stop telling me.
I mean, but that's true shit though.
Right. Like, I hate when people say, well, you gotta fight for, just like just like these young girls, they'd be like, oh, I'm his ride or die. Why the fuck do you have to go through? Why do you, as a woman, have to prove and go through all this bullshit?
That's right.
To prove, no, you
like, baby, that's attachment. Honey, that is not.
And these big old 40s, if you do one fucking thing, you might twitch your eye wrong. And I'm like, you know what? I'm good on you.
That's right, because you can't disrupt my peace, especially when you've had a lot of disruption. Oh. Once you settle into that thing, no man, woman, or child can come in and shift a thing. You don't get to change the room. There are certain energies that will come into a space and you'll see your plants start to die. If my plants are being affected by your oxygen, what are you doing to me? You got to go.
Absolutely.
Extremely mindful. I tell people quick, I don't have company no more. It took me a long time to get there. I'm my company.
No, that's right. It's so much peace and solitude. I wish.
You say in general. Okay.
In general.
Look, I'm like, thank you.
When you learn to be alone, no sex, no. When you master that, oh my, it's a different level of, because you just want. Some people go from person to person because they don't want to face themselves.
Yeah.
And they want to be attached, or they're yearning for something, they're yearning for love. And at one point in time, I think I had like one boyfriend at one time. And
it's too much noise. And the thing is, and all of us, you know, not just people who have been sexually assaulted, but anyone who has dealt with any type of disappointment, trauma, anything, we will cushion ourselves with the noise, right? Even people,
right?
Places we just it's the noise, and we get afraid of the silence. But how can I hear myself?
You know how much you find about yourself in silence? I know you do. It's a rhetorical question, but and you're just alone, just being alone, just thinking, because you know you. You know what I mean? Yep. You can walk out your door and be any fucking body you want to be.
Yes.
But when you home alone, bawling, crying, balled up, praying, God, get me out of this, or let this be the last time I go through
God
this.
Have mercy.
And God, I promise this and that and then the other. That's the ugly part.
Yep.
You know what I mean? At this age, I can finally say that I'm open and receptive. I was telling my friends too, sharing my space with someone and sharing my heart and my energy. You know what I mean? I am so open more to that now than I've ever been. And it's because I'm doing the work.
That's right.
I'm doing the work, consciously doing the work. You know what I mean? I stop myself sometimes from saying little things or because I'm triggered by certain things.
You hear yourself. I often tell people, especially in my Reiki space, and this is something that I have to teach myself, remind myself of daily. Taking 3 seconds before speaking can just save so many things. Just before I react, before I respond to something. If someone, it can be the simplest question. Taking 3 seconds to just let me.
And everybody know me, I'm instantly. My daughter.
Yeah, you do.
Kayla said, "Mom, I ain't never in my life." You say because I say that because that comes from a place of not being able to express myself. If you tell anybody.
But the pause, you still can express yourself.
Yeah,
but taking that pause, I may adjust the volume. I'm paying attention to exactly who I'm talking to. And I know me, and I know when I got to show up all the way as me, and if I'm going to show up as me, but I may have to show up as me in this way. So somebody may ask me something, and a little old Janelle would, what the fuck, something? Janelle, present is, why do you need to know that? You know what I'm saying? Like, before I go off, like, I want to hear people, and I want to be heard. Want to be heard. Now, with your organization, tell me some of your initiatives, your plans.
The first thing I want to do is have a retreat. All right, and I'm gonna start off with a small group of people. And I want to do some trust building exercises. I also wanted people to know that journaling saves your life. Also, write it down if you can't talk about it. So I just I've prepared ways for you to navigate if you want to talk to people or if you don't. You know what I mean?
That's
what
right.
if you don't want to talk about it? What if you're not talking to them about it? What if you're still in that space where you can't write it? Here are some steps to help you get you through. Let me tell you something that happened like a month ago. I was watching Real Housewives of
which one?
Potomac.
Girl, you know I love me all the Housewives. No, I don't. But Potomac is one that I like.
You watch it?
I like it. I'm not a fan of any of the Housewives, but I do.
So a month ago, they went to this organization thing for sexual assault and abuse called PAVE, P-A-V-E.
Karen was yep.
I watched that and I said, So that night before I went to bed, I DM'd the CEO of that organization. Her name's Angela Rose. Shout out to Angela. Didn't expect her to hit me back. The next morning I woke up, I said, hi, my name is Kelly Queen. I have a soon-to-be nonprofit. And I just wanted to talk to you about your organization, Pick Your Brain. I did not Google her prior. I usually Google people. But I wanted to go into it authentically. I wake up the next morning. That was the day that it snowed. It was bad weather here. I forgot what it was. And she said, hey, Kelly, I live in Chicago. Remember this show come on Monday.
Right.
Tuesday morning, she was like, let's meet on Friday. She said, let's have a Zoom meeting. I put in my PTO.
Yes.
Right? I took off. And she gets in front of me in the Zoom. Angela Rose. She's in this big, beautiful home. And we're talking. And her energy, instantly. Pretty white lady, blonde hair, well put together. She don't look like what she's been through. And we're talking. A 15-minute Zoom turned into an hour.
Wow.
She says, I never, ever answer my DMs. I get my staff to. She said, Kelly, you need to be on stage telling people what you tell me. She said, I went through years of not having a good relationship at all. And I didn't look her up. And she said when she had her apartment, she used to put Post-its around the whole apartment. I will buy a big, beautiful home. A man will fall in love with me, and we will dance in the living room.
Wow. Oh, man.
She says 11 years later, I'm in my big, beautiful home. I found a man that loves me unconditionally, and we dance in the living room.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
She started telling me about PAVE. She says, anything, once you become legit, that my organization can do to help your organization, you have my support 100%. I get off the phone, and she was like, I'm big on meditation and vibes and spirituality. She was like, Kelly, this right here. She was like, I never answer my DMs. She's like, it was just the way that, she was like, something told me to answer. Girl, I go and Google her. In 1997, Angela Rose was working at the mall. She asked her boss, could she leave the mall early in Chicago to go to a graduation party? Walking to her car, a man puts a knife up to her throat, abducts her, puts Band-Aids over her eyes.
Oh, my God.
Takes her to an abandoned field and rapes her repeatedly. She said her father had always told her to pay attention to her surroundings, and she always did. But what was happening was she was working in a store at the mall. She was oblivious to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Jeez, man.
She was on 48 Hours. 48 Hours interviewed her. And most of all, I think he killed all other victims. She was the only one that survived.
Oh, my goodness.
If I had known that prior, it wouldn't have been as authentic as it was.
Yep.
Because I would try to maneuver around saying certain things. And she had said something to me during the conversation. She was like, I can't even watch shows with knives and abductions. She was like, I just can't do it. It's just something that I can't do.
And you had no idea.
Had no
idea.
Oh,
man.
I'm going to send you her video, Angela Rose.
Yeah, look, let me check it.
It's called 48 Hours to something. And she went on there and told her story, and he took her to
I don't know why her name is. Well, I'm certain it's familiar because I probably came across it. Yeah.
And we're the same age.
How about that?
Same age. And she was like, you can do this. She was like, you can do this. I'm going to send you her page. She had an Instagram page. And I was just like, no, that's confirmation right there.
You can.
Because she was like, I don't talk to, I really don't answer DMs. And I was like, that's confirmation.
Those be the ones.
And the whole time we were talking, she was like, you're giving me chills. She was like, just the things that you're saying. She was like, because it's so relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And then this what really got me. She was like, because in the African American community, she's so in tune to it.
Mm-hmm.
You guys don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I'm fully aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like an aha moment for me. And then I had got a call a couple years ago where this girl in Annapolis, her mom had a party, and during her party, a guy had went upstairs and assaulted her. Just like a year ago, a year or two ago, and she called me, but she didn't want to press charges. I was called by a third party, and and she was like, I don't want to do it. And I said, by you being over 21, I can't report it for you. And that's what I wanted. I want people to get past also. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Report it. Report it. Say something.
Say something.
Please, because you could say, I live with the guilt of there being other people after me. He was going to do it regardless, but for a long time I carried the shame of maybe I could have helped someone else. So why not let me give you the tools? Nobody will listen to somebody that ain't never been through shit. I always say, I don't trust people that ain't never been through shit.
Because what could you possibly
And not only that, if something happens, you going to fold.
The truth.
You going to leave me?
Yes.
You going to leave me? I can't trust you. But for me to look another young girl in the eye and say, you know what, I've been there. I know what it's feel like to be touched or feel shamed or want to cover up or the opposite. You know what I mean? You people go to where it's relatable. And since this is a taboo topic, I bring it up every chance I get. People are like, oh, don't nobody want to talk about that. Okay.
Yeah.
But you going to listen or you can leave.
Yeah. And don't know it. I wish people could hear themselves and they can't, and that's a whole nother topic. But I'm grateful for you. Like it's so much going on behind the scenes, especially in our local community with these Chester molesters. That's what I call them. That's being gentle, being exposed. And I have a close friend now that's dealing with it.
I know.
With her,
I was gonna actually reach out to her, but everything happens when it's supposed to, and with that, people get backlash because we're such a small town and such a close knit community. Nobody ever wants to think that somebody did that,
I refuse, and I know that they know better though.
Right.
They know better. We've seen these types. I mean, we can go back as far as when we were in like Annapolis High School, like and with my friends, I'm 10 toes down, and they all know that. Like, ain't no like here, and I know that she's happy that we're having this conversation too.
Well,
because I told her, I said the same thing. I said, you don't understand, and you will eventually. With the person that she's supporting through it, I said the freedom that she's given people who didn't have that.
And her mother, she has.
We're trying to be mindful.
Yeah,
we're being really mindful.
And one thing, if you're looking at this and you know what we're talking about, and you feel some type of way, that's your fucking problem.
Yeah, don't nobody.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna say it. You ain't gonna say it to my face.
Yeah, I
we're being discreet out of respect for them.
Yeah, and I don't know the ins and outs of the situation, but I know what it feels like to be, in that position, and it's tough, and it's someone else.
I'll tell you what gets me the most, right? And not just with that situation, but with all of them that involve children who get some age on them. Well, why are you just saying something? Why you wait to say something?
People always say that. People have said that to me. Why do you wait all these years? I said, do you understand the magnitude of even being able to say something like that? Do you know a verbal, because you don't know the reaction.
Yep.
And I want to do a sidebar real quick. If anybody that works for Luminous is watching this, the way you guys receive rape victims is fucked all the way up. And I had someone that go over there to report her rape, and she was not received. They wanted her to talk out loud and all that extra shit. So I'm going to get back to Luminous, because you guys have to do a better way of receiving these people.
That's right.
That's why they don't want to come in and get a rape kit done. And speaking of rape kits, it's an initiative. I'm going to give you the link.
I saw it on your page.
It's a link because we have so many rape kits.
Got a backlog.
Like 4,000. Last time I checked, I think it was 4,500. But these rape kits are matching across the country. The DNA. So these people are like raping in more than one.
And relocating.
And the initiative is for government funding to provide more money so people can do more testing on these rape. It's so many rape kits.
It is so mind blowing to me the way that they minimize rape. The way that they minimize that experience, like, oh no, okay, we're not paying any mind to that, or like you said, how they receiving the victims
because
at the local
women
hospital.
Are still considered second-class citizens.
Oh yeah.
And what we have between our legs is some people feel like they're entitled to it.
Yep.
And I'm not discrediting the boys that have been molested, but I'm just saying, or raped. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, like, people, people still think that, well, I'm entitled to you. I'm entitled to that. Mm-hmm. How dare you tell me no? Girls get killed every day for saying no.
And I think it's almost as if you're shamed for surviving, for not being killed. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, you lived. Do you know how I've had to live? Like, that part is just so disregarded.
I was watching the Color Purple musical, and as you get older, you pick little things out of stuff. And I remember what Oprah said: "A girl ain't safe in a
home full of men, family of men."
People don't realize how because people say, "Oh, your uncles and this is," and thank God for uncles, because I didn't have the greatest. My brother Demario, I looked to as a father. I didn't let that. I let my brother be more like a father figure. I would tell him everything, and he died without knowing. But I found out he had an inclination, but he was waiting for me to say something. But I looked at him as a father figure, and my uncles, or my, I had, and that's when I came to the point, like, every man is not like that. You feel me? Like, every man is not. It took me a long time to get to that place, though.
I'm glad you're there.
I'm there. And because I had to get there, because there's no way I can love a man wholeheartedly with everything that's in me, and not be healed in some type of way. Because people be like, I'm healed. No, healing don't work like that.
It don't work like that. Like, you are forever. It's an everyday thing.
Right.
It's every single day.
I'm like, Chloe, text me when you get on the bus. We all have each other's locations. Kate be like, Mom, why are you in the city? Why are you worried about why I'm moving east?
Girl, let me tell you something.
I'm in Baltimore. Why are you
My grandson, he will text me, Mama, why are you at Cracker Barrel? Why are you texting me from school? But I wouldn't change it.
Right. And I said, I need to see your locations at all times. And Chloe's like, you want me to call you when I get on the bus? Absolutely. No, text me. Absolutely.
I do not regret, and I was just speaking about this to my son on the podcast that we do. I would not change my mother for anything in the world. My Brenda is overprotective. She did not play. If she said the curfew was over at 11, I was coming to that house by 10:30. She put that in me. But she didn't have to worry about getting phone calls of me being out here, or Janelle got locked up, Janelle got on drugs, Janelle laid out somewhere drunk. Oh, I knew better. But because she was such a guardian, and I feel like in today's world, you're ashamed as a parent for doing that. Give them freedom. No, I'm gonna give them some common sense first.
Right.
I'm gonna give them some tools first. And freedom comes with learning. But I feel like so many people shame involved parents. I feel like we need to be more mindful as it relates to this internet.
Absolutely.
And all the things, the stuff that children are exposed to. We used to have to sneak and look under mattresses to peep in a dirty magazine, or put the VHS tapes. It's right there. It's right there.
And that's why I keep the lines of communication open in my household. You can say anything you want to say in here. You can ask both of them as long as it's respectful.
Yep.
Because I don't want you bottling shit in.
That's
and
right.
saying that I didn't understand.
Yep.
You know, tell me. Like, hey,
right.
Chloe's like, Mom, you be on me about school. Yeah, I do. But you got it.
Because that's what I'm supposed to be. And
Absolutely.
one day, prayerfully, you will be that way with your children too.
I made so many mistakes. We don't want that for them.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm not using it as an excuse, but I definitely hold on to trauma for so long that instability became a thing for me. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know which direction or how to plant my feet. I was so busy navigating through my trauma that I wasn't learning basic necessities.
Come on.
And a lot of people didn't realize, like, let's keep it funky. When I had lost my job and lost this and had to do that, and I was so busy just trying to fight what was in here that I wasn't living.
Couldn't pay attention to any of that.
I wasn't living. And then when people was like, well, you're neglecting this and neglecting that, I had to sit because I was so offended by it. And then I had to sit with myself like, I know I wasn't, but I was. It wasn't intentionally. It's just that I was still navigating. Navigating through my feelings. Like, I held on to that pain for so long. It was like a big ass burden on me. You know what I mean?
And see, Kelly, and I appreciate you saying that because the misconception is, and we talked about this earlier, because if you were molested or sexually assaulted, you're gonna be promiscuous. They expect for the trauma to show up in that way. They don't expect it to show up in not being responsible, not being able to keep up with everyday things, not being able to focus in, not being able to prioritize, not trauma, whether it's child abuse, drug addiction, anything. It's not just going to be about you can't be around
Girl,
liquor.
I just had an aha moment when you said that because I had never said that out loud, and it just came to realization that I prided myself on I wasn't promiscuous. I didn't end up on drugs. I didn't use that to escape what I was going through. I was neglecting myself in basic shit just to survive. I felt like I was in straight survival mode. And then people will look at you and say, oh, you got it together. And I tell people all the time, you know, if a man...
Like, baby, I got to spend time getting it together every day.
Listen. You want... A man might deem you attractive, and you'll take it. But I had this thing in me where I want to prove that it's just not about that. Because I have been sexualized. So, no, talk to me. That's why I'm so stimulated by smart men. I'm so stimulated by a man that could teach me something and a protector. Like, I know at this age what type of partner. You know, in my 20s and 30s, I navigated through them.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But at this big old age, I know exactly what I need. You know what I mean? Because nobody talks about how when you're violated, you become insecure. Oh. You know what I mean? You have these insecurities, and people like, you have no reason. Why are you insecure? You know what I mean? Why, honey? I'm not
in the years we sit in it, in silence. I tell you, I had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, like, and in this role that I'm in now, in all the years I've been working in reentry, I have never been more sexualized, disrespected, sexually, getting penis pictures to my phones middle of the night, like, than I had. Like, Baltimore City is just different. Y'all, it's something in that water up. I don't know if it lead mixed up in there, whatever. They just different, right? But I did not like talking to men in authority. Didn't like it, right? Even in my in work roles, and it was in my role before this. And I give him a shout out. My supervisor, the director before this, like, what? It's not a question whether or not you're gonna show up in this space with all these men.
You're gonna do it.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. And the more I did it, it just became natural. And I heard myself say something for the first time about a month ago. Was a little the males, even my colleagues now, they attempt to sweet little lady me. That ain't Janelle. It ain't me, right? And there was an issue that had come up, and my supervisor, who was a female, and the three men, we had to meet. And my supervisor, unfortunately, didn't show up on time she came. The meeting was done. Now, typically, I would be like, I feel so alone, and why would you do that? Girl, I went in there, legs crossed, and with these three men, grinning and slick talk, and they're trying to little lady. We're not doing that. We're gonna be real direct. I'm gonna say what they gotta say. Well, they said, well, your supervisor said that you were uncomfortable here, and I said, that is not even a word that is in my vocabulary. I'm not uncomfortable in any space I enter. So I apologize if she miscommunicated. That won't ever be me. And even in that moment, like, see, I didn't realize the impact of what I said until I took in their expressions. I felt like a fucking warrior.
I know that's right.
Like, and I meant every word, but it came so natural. Several years ago, I would have never.
So I'm going to tell you what's a gift and a curse. And I've noticed this with my female friends. They will work stuff out with men they've been in relationships with. and I haven't never got. I'm not at like I'm so. That's why I don't talk to people. I don't tell people to leave because my first instinct is to leave, right? And I gotta realize that that's not. You know, you can't tell people love people. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And
then I want to give you the space to be clear on my why. If something is not going okay in a relationship, if I'm uncomfortable with something, I'm going to give you the space to learn the why. Now, I'm not responsible for receipt on the delivery.
Right.
And I know I'm going to deliver it with the best intent because I love you.
I'm not. Your perception is not my reality.
Yeah. It has nothing to do. I feel that, that's where we stop. You feel. You got to resolve that, baby. But with love. Like if it's somebody that I'm intimate with, even outside of males, female relationships, anybody. If I love you enough to respect you. I respect you enough to be cautious, to be mindful. But you're gonna hear this. I'm not going to be the one that leaves anymore. Just like you say your mother said you a track star, or you said that like a runner. Yeah. Oh, that had been me. Oh my
Yeah. What? It got thick in here? Oh, okay. Well, let me go.
I'm not gonna say goodbye.
That's me. It missed the shit out you.
Yep.
And will love you from a distance.
Yes.
But that's how I protect myself.
Fight or flight.
And that's one of the things that we do.
Yep.
That's on you see it on, I don't know if you saw on my page. Yeah.
You did. I did see that. Yep.
Yeah. It's the whole purpose of saving ourselves is not even to be big and fancy. We have to take responsibility for our healing. No one. For years, I wanted someone to wasp me. It's gonna be okay, and I'm gonna get all this. No, because I still had to do the work on the inside.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I still had to be alone with me. So while you're there, you're helping me navigate. But when I'm alone and I'm crying and I'm upset because I want to trust a man, but something in me is telling me not to. I had to. You're responsible for your healing.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't know where to start. And that's where I want to be. Start with me. You know, I don't want to tell Kelly Queen what happened to me. That's fine. I'll get somebody else.
Yeah.
But, here's the materials.
That's right.
Because you're going to end up coming back and be like, oh, okay.
But people will get there. It'll. Oh God.
That's why you don't push them.
Yep. They will get there. I've had so many people reach out to me who hardly spoke to me in public. That's fine because it wasn't meant for us to even connect in that space. But to have dozens of people that you can pick from to be vulnerable with, you picked me, I'm all right with that.
Well, let me give you your flowers. You're a different type of person, right?
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you can work But you exude energy. Like, you the same way you get that positive shit, on the flip side, like you did with old girl, you wild her ass the fuck up, excuse me. And I love that for you. I love that about you. Because some people are so, I don't want the people to see me in this light, or I want people, no, this is me. Everybody know that I'm a snapbacker. You, as soon as you say something, I'm on it. I remember one time somebody said something on my page, and I said something right back to her, and you commented underneath. I knew it was coming. You put something, because that's who I am. That's just from me being quieted all the time.
But I'm going to tell you, like I told my grandbabies, Kelly, that fire, keep it high. We minimize that so much, like you don't want to be. If it calls for it, now, like I say, I may take 3 seconds before I respond, but that does not mean I ain't gonna say it.
Right.
I'm gonna take it all in. Sometimes it comes down to this bitch gonna cry and crack when I say it, but I'm gonna say it. But you don't nobody gets to do that anymore. And like with my granddaughters, my grandsons too, but especially with my granddaughters, because I'm a woman. And seeing them growing, you are not to silence yourself for anybody.
At all.
I always tell the story of when I had my girl perm and shortcut and had blonde in the front, and I'm sitting in my daughter's yard. And you couldn't tell me nothing. We out back. And here come one of them twins, Braylon. And she stands in front of me, and I see her look up at my hair, and then she looks at me. So you had different.
You had different is funny.
I said, yeah, you like it? Mm-mm. And Jalen was like, don't just ask her, don't you ever tell her not to do that. That's right. Mm-hmm. I asked her a question, she answered. And it's okay to do that. She's not being rude.
And I want everyone to know watching that let your kids express themselves. Let them tell you. You know, when we were growing up, you don't talk back. I mean, you can't express yourself because it was deemed as disrespectful or talking back. No, tell me how you feel.
Mm-hmm. Be seen and not heard.
Right. No.
And here we are, 40 plus, hitting into 50, trying to undo that.
Right.
Trying to undo
I want to see you. I want to hear you.
Yep.
How are you?
And I may not always agree with you, but that does not mean that I can't learn from you.
Mm-hmm. And I pride myself on my oldest daughter asked me uncomfortable questions. Mm-hmm. I like that for us. Mm-hmm. It hit different when they get a certain age. I remember we were riding down West Street, and you know, people always out in front Planned Parenthood.
Oh, they still out there.
Girl, yes, with
bless
the signs.
Oh, bless them.
So, Kayla looks at me, and I knew it was coming.
She asked the question.
Yeah, she asked me, and I said, you know, I'm pro-choice, but I grew up in a house with a pro-life mother, and I said because my mother was told she couldn't have children, I said so that's why I don't demonize anybody for what they think, and I
that's
said,
right.
You have a choice you don't have to believe what your mother believes. That's for me. You conjure up. I don't conjure up things. So it's certain things I give you, moral things for you to live by, but you're going to come to your own assumption about things.
That's right.
So just because I feel a certain way does not mean that you're obligated to feel that way. Because I don't want them to feel like I felt. I was like, I didn't feel free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And see, and that's the thing. Can't speak for any other community, but I know in the Black community, especially with women, it's a great majority of moms who we only see our daughters as extensions of us, and that is not the case. They are their own entity. They're their own person. You're not me. And a lot of us will say, don't be like me, don't be like me. Well, some of us learn behavior, but for the most part, we have to give them the freedom to be their own people, and we watch. Like my biggest thing is always with my children. Okay, here are the good tools, and you saw how I used those, and you saw how they worked out. And here are the bad tools, and you saw how I used those, and you saw how they worked out.
Right.
There's the toolbox. 10 years ago, it was use this tool for this,
right.
Use that for that. That was my experience.
Right.
I also had to check myself by telling them when I was 23, I had given birth to 5 children and buried one. Mm-hmm. My 20s were drastically different from theirs.
Right.
But that fear still showed up in me speaking, y'all got to do this, you got to do that.
Right.
Baby, you know what? Your 20s are for learning. Now, don't get caught up in the failures, but that's where you get your lessons.
Yes.
That's how we get wise in the 40s and the 50s.
Right.
We have to learn it. I can't block the learning process. Would love to. Cushion it. No, do it this way. But that was my experience. So
my thing with Kaylin's opposite of me. Kaylin's an introvert. She's a Black girl that watches anime and does graphic design on the computer, and she listens to her music. Right? If Kaylin can sit in a room with you for 3 hours and not utter a word.
Oh, she might be the person.
Right? But once we get in that car, I ain't feeling that much. Something's off. She's one of those. But Kaylin's not a talker. She's not big on being around a lot of people. And I love that for her. And that Chloe, she's different.
That's all right, girl. That's
each kid is different. You know that. And I'm bringing it back. I always have to remind Chloe's like, you want to know. I said, because that comes from a place of where I've been. Yep. So I was like, that's why I always want to know this and always want to know that. And who are you talking to and things of that nature. You can have your own friends and all that, but I want to know who you're talking to.
That's right.
And I said it's going to forever be this way until I leave this earth.
That's right.
So many of us don't talk. One conversation to really find out what somebody's going through or what they've been through. There's people every day that been through molestation, rape, and I say those words because they're uncomfortable.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Rape, molestation, being touched.
Because we have to move past that. Bothered with, even with touch. No, this person was raped. They were molested. They were abused. Right. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like to talk about it. They cringe. All right, that's enough of that. Like to somebody right now, we've been talking about this way too long.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not that serious to them because they haven't experienced it. But if you take one moment to just realize who around you, 3 out of 5 people, it's probably more than that, have been sexually abused. 3 out of 5. It's probably 4 now.
Kelly, I remember I posted maybe it's been a couple of years, but I had posted, and I was not talking about abuse, but I posted a question: why didn't you tell? Mm-hmm. And what I was referring to was if you've known something, mm-hmm. Did you not share it with a person because you didn't want to hurt them or what? Mm-hmm. The majority of the answers were, I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want my mother to go to jail. I didn't want my father to go to jail. The majority of the answers, and I'm talking 50 people, over 50 people commented on that. And it wasn't I didn't want to hurt my friend. You know what I mean? Right. It wasn't, that was where I was coming from. But the majority of the people who made that statement, I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't. And let me say this before we wrap too. I think one of the things that we do as parents and even as grandparents will tell children, you can tell me anything because I'm a mess up a person up. I'm gonna do this. The fear that it puts into a child of if I tell, you're gonna get in trouble, and then who am I gonna have? You're gonna go to jail. Who am I gonna have? Just let them know I'm safe. I'm gonna protect you. Mm-hmm. I tell my grandbabies all the time, can't nobody beat my mom. You can tell me anything. Right. Can't nobody beat my mom. They gonna hold that's exactly how they see. They can see me going off on one of their uncles and they grinning. Most kids will get, right. Oh goodness, they get him, my mom. Like, and that's how I want it. Right. That's how I want it. Kelly, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you. And I don't mean here.
I'm present.
I mean, girl.
And I want to continue to be a work in progress because when people claim they've got it all,
girl,
they stop moving. They stop. They stop. I yearn to help other people. I yearn for this. Like, tell me. Mm-hmm. Let me help you. I want to do retreats. I want to public speak. I want to prepare a journal for you to navigate through this. Girl. You know what I mean? I want you to be able to. Every county, every state has some type of local association that can help you with this. Mm-hmm. Even therapists that strictly,
yeah,
for sexual assault, mm-hmm. for abuse. I remember for years I wouldn't go to a male therapist. Last year, a year before last during COVID, someone sent me a black male therapist, and that was a big deal to me. To sit on Zoom, a black male therapist, mm-hmm. because I don't want a man. I don't want a black male therapist.
It ain't nothing but him.
Because that was my abuser, mm-hmm. and we got to stop holding people hostage because when certain things happen to people by a certain demographic, sometimes they don't want to deal with if someone had molested you that had green eyes, purple hair, and orange lips, you're prone to not go in that direction.
That's right.
Because it reminds you of your trauma.
That's actually something that when I worked at Oasis Mental Health, the director, we couldn't wear like strong perfume. We couldn't wear outrageous hair colors. You couldn't wear heavy makeup because they could be triggers for people. They're coming in there for therapy, and you at the front desk greeting them with, and you bringing me back. So yeah.
I remember my therapist had told me a story one time when I had this white lady therapist. And she said that she had a patient who would get triggered every time they heard dishes. And they didn't know why until they got older. Until they started going back in their memories and they knew that dishes equated their dad coming home and he would abuse their mother. But it was the sound of dishes. Yeah. It could be the most minute thing.
It's like look at Antoine Fisher with Rain.
Right.
Smelling the wet pavement.
Right. Yeah. People are triggered by certain things. My favorite smell is eucalyptus. For years, that was a trigger for me. Because of something specific. It was because of Vicks Vapor Rub.
Oh my God!
And for years, I could not. And nobody really. I don't bring Vicks around me. Mm-hmm. I don't want to smell Vicks. It would be a trigger for me. Mm-hmm. Every time I smelled it, it's not like that anymore. Because eucalyptus was one of my favorite, but something that's so minute got changed into something so perverse. And it only takes that. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I have a girlfriend who can't listen. You can't play Sade. We could be doing anything in the song, anything come on, she'll turn it off. I'm like, why? She's like, I don't know. And it eats me up. Like, and I love Sade. But even when I'm playing at home, my thoughts always go to her. In that, but I take it as a time to offer and send prayer to her. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm like, if I'm playing Sade, then that means I'm thinking I'm a girl. So let me just send some love. Well, I might hit her up and check on her, those things. But like you said, just the smallest things become something so perverse.
Last thing, another hump, and this has been the last 2 years of humps of aha moments. My friend Lisa Stanley, Marlowe's sister, she's a massage therapist. And I love massages, but I had a problem with touch. You just randomly touching me or whatever. And she was like, you're going to get over that. You're going to get over that. Because I was like, damn, I need a massage. But then I get, I don't want nobody to touch me. So my friend, for my birthday, he sent me to the spa for my birthday. And Lisa said, you going? I was like, yeah, I'm going. I said, oh, I hope it's not like this. I walk into the spa and said, God, I'll release this.
Come on.
I melted into that lady. That lady must massage me from the rooter to the tutor.
Come on now.
Like, here it is. I wouldn't have let, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I only let Lisa do it because that's my, that's my people's.
Yep.
But to have a person a stranger, like, it was like okay. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's what intimate, because that wasn't even sexual. Mm-hmm. It's able to have sexual, but when it got to the intimacy,
the feelings.
It just, I was like, So my mother used to say, you're gonna be a 40-something-year-old woman still learning about yourself. I couldn't run from my calling any longer, because every time I turned around, it was someone in need of healing from what I've been through. Mm-hmm. Every time. I'd be in a battle rap event or in a spaces, and one of the girls or guys will bring it up. Mm-hmm. I'll be at work and one of the patients will bring it up. It's everywhere I turn. I hear you, God. Mm-hmm. I'm here. And I might cry with you. I might be upset. It's been times where I've talked to someone and saved face and go in my car and just put my head down. I'm like, nah, because of the energy of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm here to help. I know it's not easy to talk about. I can give you the tools, what you need. Today I'm under the weather. I wish I was a little bit more, but
that's all right. I think we made our point.
Right. And to bring it full circle, the whole point of this was not just to talk about SOS, but it was to talk about the healing aspect. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Don't be scared. Write it down. Talk to somebody. It's always someone out here.
That's right.
Watch people around your kids. Listen to them. Trust them. Trust your gut.
Always trust the gut.
God built women differently. We got a whole different type of instinct. Mm-hmm. A whole different type of energy. It's deeper than just a woman's instinct. It's the way that we're made. Mm-hmm. We just have a different type of energy when it comes to knowing things.
That's right.
Some things I just know, and I don't know how I know it.
You just know.
I just know.
Well, I just knew that I needed you to be here and in person and all that good stuff. I'm grateful for you, G.A.W.D. I'm so grateful for you, and I can't say it any better. I hope that everyone who takes the time to listen to this finds some steps towards healing. Like, we don't get there and stay. We go in and out. And I hope you're good. No, you're good.
No, and I kept it light, because when I do start public speaking, I'm going to go into detail, and it's going to be uncomfortable.
That's right.
Because we didn't go into detail, but I'm going to go into detail because people be wanting to know, well, what actually happened? Mm-hmm. What actually, oh no, I'm going to tell you.
And I'm mindful about that. You know what I mean? When it's time, it's time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm just, like I said, it just blessed me that we created the space for this.
Right.
Just to even start the dialogue, to get to know, to let the people know where they can come. Y'all make sure y'all follow on Instagram. I told y'all. Follow on Instagram and share it. Share it. Like, we not keeping secrets no more.
Why?
We don't.
If anybody tells you or tell your child to keep it as a secret, ask why. Mm-hmm. If someone says, well, why gotta be a secret? Mm-hmm. It's different for me telling you something personal and saying, don't tell nobody. But if I come to you like, well, why is it a secret?
Why is it a secret?
Because secrets are attached to shame. Mm-hmm.
And there's enough of us already walking around with shame. We ain't creating no additional boulders.
Especially for our children.
That's right.
And they're exposed to everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Saving Ourselves.
Kelly, thank you.
You're welcome. I love you, Jen.
I love you more.
Thanks for creating this space.
Absolutely. That's what it's for.
I'm waiting. When your time comes, you're going to have your 1 million followers. I'm like, yeah, write your book.
My thing is, if I just reach one. But certain
people like you got people out here who got all these followers and no purpose, and they're just out here, and And I'm not shaming anybody for get your coin how you do, but healing needs to be done in more than one area.
And I'm always wear that thing on my chest. It has not been easy. So, like I said, if I just reach one person, if one person is impacted, I've done my job. I've done his job. I've done his job. I never wanted to be me. Y'all, this is the God Hour. We are out.